I gotta keep it 1,000 with you guys. Spider-Man personally for me has not been hitting the spot. And I've genuinely been able to see this problem with it, particularly after my second playthrough of Spider-Man. Now, note guys, I'm not saying that Spider-Man is a bad franchise at all. I'm actually quite happy to find that we're able to find a new generation of Spider-Man games that are exciting, interesting, well developed, and definitely a lot of passion have been put into them. It's great that we finally have an exciting Marvel essential game series and game universe that can be interesting enough, and it seems that Insomniac are willing to put in the work with their new game coming out relatively soon, Wolverine, and it seems they're going to do their best to essentially expand the Marvel universe in the gaming sphere. So there's definitely a lot of things on the way, but let's discuss my issues and odds with the Spider-Man franchise in particular and the games that they've produced. Now gents, I played Spider-Man the original one a couple of years ago, and recently I got my hands on Spider-Man Miles Morales, and I personally have a little bit of issues with these two games. First and foremost, the thing that I want to tackle is the villains. The way in which the villains and this entire scenario is handled in both of these games. I'm gonna mention both of them piece by piece. Firstly, Otto Octavius. Now, in the Spider-Man in the first one, the other villains were handled generally well, but Otto Octavius I found very, very strange. I found that him falling into the dark and black hole that is evil felt very, very abrupt and came absolutely out of nowhere. Now, understand that we were given an ample backstory that explained his entire situation, why he has real and valid personal beef with Norman Osborn and such, but I just found it extremely strange for Otto Octavius to pull this complete 180 and completely off the deep end, because in other forms of entertainment, Otto Octavius has had some, I don't know, for me in my personal opinion, he's had some stronger motivations to become evil, but in the Spider-Man game, I felt he became particularly into this menacing villain out of nowhere, and it honestly just didn't match with his personality and the way that he acted. At least with the Asian and Chinese guy, he was afflicted by this crazy Asian curse that gave him these superpowers and of course altered his mind in due course. But Otto Octavius still had all his wits about him, he still had all of his intelligence, still had his complete personality, still was interacting with Peter Parker on a daily basis, who, even though he was up and down being Spider-Man, he was still definitely still a positive influence who looked up to him. So personally, I just found it really odd when Otto Octavius started to really hate Peter and have some real beef with Spider-Man and all of this thing. Now, of course, Norman Osborn, yes, I understand you having beef with him, but for him to go to the lengths that he took to, create the arms and to, mess up Norman, it just definitely, the authenticity, in my opinion, definitely wasn't there in that sense. And narratively, I'd say that was my personal biggest issue with this first Spider-Man game. Now, if we switch on over to Spider-Man Miles Morales and we consider the villain of Finn that is over there, the way that was handled was also a bit iffy. Now, I'll be honest with you guys, comparing the two titles. Now, granted, Spider-Man Miles Morales is more so a demo to show off the capabilities of the PlayStation 5. So it's definitely not something I'm going to be too critical on. But, just considering it as an independent form, it was okay. It's definitely not as strong as the previous game, and it was clear as it was a shorter campaign. I think the best way to view it is some additional DLC. That's probably the best way we can view it. And the plot there was just okay. Very cool the way that Miles was introduced and the way that he operates, and he's actually very, very powerful, and it was cool to see his story unfold. But in terms of narratively, it wasn't that great either. Finn herself, she was the big bad in this game. She wasn't exactly the big bad, but she was kind of moved and motivated to become the enemy and the big bad because of the things that Roxanne did to her family. So in this case, I'll be honest with you, it's definitely much more understandable, and she has a much stronger motivator for her to become evil in comparison to Otto Octavius. So that I give them respect, that's an immediate improvement. But in which Miles chooses to solve this problem, very, very, very questionable. And okay, noted, you could say, hey, he's still naive, he's still learning, he still doesn't know what's going on. To be honest, bro, like, I don't know, maybe this is an affliction of a lot of other superhero type things, but in this case, like, is it seriously Miles Morales going to the popo? Like, calling in a police report, exposing their location? Like, dude, like, the police could have pulled up in a tank or like something, bro. Like, they could have really done something. And the other thing that really weirded me out is Finn's combat abilities. Yo, understand that Finn is not some trained person who's been fighting all her life, or she's some super soldier or super mutant who has some crazy super cool powers. No, she's just a normal girl who has some very, very good technology and robotic skills, and she's able to go toe to toe with Spider-Man? Yo, what? Like, yeah, genuinely, I found that extremely odd. Otto Octavius has a better case, is those electro arms are definitely formidable weapons, and definitely in anybody's hands you could definitely be a real menace. But Finn, bro, like, Finn had no business being that powerful, being able to tank the ridiculous attacks that Spider-Man is able to give. Like, granted, the mechanics and robotics that she uses, those can be very tough, but her body herself definitely shouldn't have the capabilities to be able to go toe to toe with Miles Morales, especially compounded with his electromagnetic powers. I found that a wee bit odd, but I can definitely let that slide. As overall, it was it got the job done, and it was an entertaining DLC package if you were to view it in that way. If you paid $60, yeah, perhaps then you'd feel a little bit slighted. But me, luckily I was able to enjoy it over on PS Plus, and I was able to enjoy it and have a pretty decent time with it. Now guys, let's consider the other aspects of the game. Let's consider the other issues that I have, and these are, I would say, the systematic issues, and the issues I'm going to list here are not issues that are primarily unique only to the Spider-Man games. The issues that Spider-Man has are a number of open world issues that a lot of other open world games have. Unfortunately, it's quantity over quality. And I'll be honest with you guys, some of these issues definitely can be resolved in the sequel. And I think if they were to note some of these issues and make some improvements, they definitely will benefit. Things such as collectibles, things such as, random, not necessarily the random events, but these collectibles and these little side activities that are sprinkled around the map. It's the Ubisoft collectible and it's the Ubisoft collectibles and activity guide that unfortunately a lot of open world games choose to follow, and honestly it doesn't improve the game in any sense. Quality over quantity. And there definitely were a few side quests that were interesting, but I'll be honest with you, if the game were to give me about five, or even five as much, even if you were to give me 3 compelling side quests that had multiple parts that you complete throughout the duration of the story, I would have been personally satisfied with that, instead of having some side quests that are associated with really bad and boring activities that honestly aren't that interesting. And yeah, for me, it just didn't hit. And these issues, of course, during your first playthrough, you're already hit by the charm. You're excited that you're finally playing an exciting and really well-developed Spider-Man game, that these issues really aren't in the forefront and don't really bother you too much of a degree. But these issues came to the forefront, particularly the plot issues with Otto Octavius, and these other activities became a lot more boring and dry after my second playthrough. After then, I was able to notice the frailties, notice the little imperfections throughout the entire experience, and from there on onwards, I will be honest with you guys, my second playthrough of Spider-Man really changed my mind in the entire experience, and at the end of it all, I was quite disappointed. And I guess another issue that we could point out, but I'm not sure if if you would consider this a negative or a positive, but Spider-Man is a game that definitely follows the formula of other open world games, and by this I mean it railroads you very, very hard. This is an issue that many other people have had when playing Red Dead Redemption, perhaps some other Ubisoft games, where they really don't allow for player freedom. Now granted, this is not a role-playing game, it's not an RPG where you can make player choices and change the outcome of situations, but I don't know, there's situations and sections of the game where you feel far too railroaded and there isn't an opportunity for some creativity or even for a bit of freedom. There are many action-adventure games that have come out long before Spider-Man that have given the players a number of choices to make in their decisions, even if it's not a lot of them, just for us to have a little bit of a choice and to be able to do things a little bit differently. And I'll be honest with you, you feel the railroadness and the rigidness of the storytelling style and the mission style, particularly when you're not playing as Spider-Man, when you're playing as Miles Morales before he got his powers, when you're playing as Mary Jane. These are the sections that really annoy you and really show to you like, yo, like this is a really stiff roller coaster and the seatbelt is on tight. There is no opportunity for me to show some creativity or wriggle out of the seatbelt that's so tightly on me. They want to railroad me, they want to keep me safely within the ride, and they will take me on the journey essentially. So there are pros and cons to this formula, but in this case, I don't know, but I guess I've just reached that point where perhaps it's a little bit of fatigue or tiredness where I'm no longer so much compelled by this style of gameplay and stuff. It just, for me personally, it didn't hit the spot. Now guys, note that I am not completely slandering the Spider-Man series. I'm not saying it's just trash, absolutely not, guys. I'm just pointing out some of the issues and gripes that I've had with the game systematically, with the quantity over the quality and the number of plot issues that have come about. Now, I'll be honest with you, unfortunately because of these issues, I'm not so sure about Spider-Man 2 that's going to be coming out pretty soon, because I'll be honest with you, it hasn't been that long since Spider-Man Miles Morales, so I've got the strong feeling that it's essentially going to be a repeat of the game we've already played, probably in the same engine, probably with the same mechanics, with probably some additions possibly to the ability that we have, possibly additions to the combat, and maybe we might be blessed with the ability to switch between Peter Parker and Miles Morales as they fight against the cool villains they'll be fighting, including Kraven and Venom. So other than that, it's probably going to be the same game we've already played. So because of that, I personally am not very excited for Spider-Man 2, and those are honestly just my thoughts on Spider-Man. It's okay, but it feels like, unfortunately, a game we've played before. If you've played the amount of games that I've played, bro, these open world games definitely start to merge and delve and blur into one singular experience, and it's rare for you to find an open world game that's really interesting, rare and unique. And unfortunately, we have to note that Spider-Man is a mainstream series. They're going to do their absolute best to allow that a huge demographic of players are able to play Spider-Man. So that's definitely what they're going to do. So they're going to make it as easy as possible for people of all ages to be able to play this game. So so complexity, nuance, and these other things are unlikely to be found in such a series, and that's honestly quite unfortunate. But yeah, hopefully they do make some real solid improvements in Spider-Man 2. I do have hope. I am interested to its imminent release, and I will tell you guys my thoughts on that game once I do finally get my hands on it. But guys, those are my thoughts on Spider-Man. Tell me your thoughts down there in the comments. Do you agree with what I'm saying? Do you disagree? Honestly, I was going to make a Spider-Man Miles Morales review, patient gamer review, and give you guys an entire breakdown on whether you should play this game, is it value for money, and all the different aspects to it. And honestly, I ended up changing my mind because in my personal opinion, it doesn't really deserve that type of review because it's just an okay game. It's an okay experience. It's not a game that's going to absolutely blow you away. As I said, it's more so of a tech demo for the capabilities of the brand new PS5. But other than that, it's not a game that you're going to come back to years later. It's just a cool game that you can sink your teeth into. But yeah, man, those are my thoughts. Well, of course, if you enjoy Spider-Man, it is over on PlayStation Plus, in the deluxe package. So you can go ahead and pick that up and give it a little bit of give it a few hours of your time. But yeah, man, for me personally, Spider-Man is not hitting the spot, bro. It's not hitting the spot, and that's honestly really unfortunate. But hey, those are my thoughts. Tell me your thoughts down there in the comments. Take it easy, gents.